Hello everybody, my name is Spoons Rattling, and welcome to the second episode of my Painting Every Space Marine Ever series. This episode is obviously on the Blood Angels. To start off with, we are starting with Coat d'Arms Blood Red. Now this color is quite bright and very similar to the old 90s Blood Red, and is about the closest I could get to the original color, which is called for in the painting book, which I'll post some pictures of here in just a moment. Now, this color is extremely vibrant, as we're going to see, and thin. So even over this white base coat, it takes several coats. I think I ended up doing 4, maybe even 5. It's sort of an unexact science. You just kind of have to do it until it looks smooth. This isn't any over-thinned or anything. It's just off my wet palette. Here you can see the speed up of me doing it. Just get on all the armor plates, and then just start to build up those coats over and over and over again. Now, this about brings us to the end of the first step, and on to the second step, which is using inks, in this case a mix of brown and red ink, slightly more red ink than brown ink, to panel line the entire model. So anywhere where there's a nook or cranny, just tap your brush there and the ink should seek it out pretty well. I've watered my ink down a little bit to make this more forgiving, as I'm still learning this sort of pin washing technique. However, it was quite easy to do with my mix, so I'd recommend trying this, because by the time I was done with this model, I was already pretty confident in it. So I think most people could take to it pretty quickly. Now, it does dry shiny, so it can be a bit hard to tell how it dries. However, I did give it quite a sort of generous margin of error, so that it could be dry before we move on to the next step. I actually found this step to be quite therapeutic and relaxing, as it didn't take too much focus, but it was engaging enough to keep my mind active instead of just, endless base coating and then washing. And it didn't really take all that much time, I think. Obviously it takes more time than just slopping on a wash, but it does look much nicer. It keeps the colors more vibrant, and actually I think makes the recesses a little darker, which greatly increases readability. This is an alternate technique to the one I did on my Ultramarines, which was layering. This one is using ink washes. Now on to the next step. We are painting in the eyes white, and then following that up with Angel Green, which is the old Dark Angel's Green, but recreated by Coat d'Arms. Now this color is stronger, so over a bit of white paint, it really only took maybe 2 coats to get it smooth. Just make sure it's not too thin or it might clog the eye detail. And remember, as always, if you're using cheap Michaels brushes like I am, because I'm still waiting to get my proper brushes, fatter brushes that are synthetic will hold their tip much better than smaller synthetic. Next up is intermediate green, to sort of color in the midsection of the eye, leaving dark angel green, in just the corners. This is again just practicing brush control. It might take some correction. If you need to correct any of the red, which I did after this step, I simply painted the area white and then reapplied the coats of blood red. It take a bit of time, but it's not too bad, especially if you're using a solid white paint, such as White Scar, as I'm about to use here in just a moment to paint the back corner of the eye. This is just to give a bit more visual interest to the eyes, and again, helps increase readability. I'm looking at this model as I'm recording this, and even as far as I'm sitting from him, he's still quite readable. That ink wash really does wonders, and the shininess of it mostly fades away as it dries. So next up is pretty much the detailing step, and the Blood Angels paint most of their filigree, such as their aquillas and chest skulls, in black. I also based everything that was going to be gunmetal black as well, so that would be the bolter, the chainsword, and so on. And we're on to that step now. I did dry brush the Aquila with gray and washed it with black just to make it a bit more interesting, and then moved on to using lead belcher to paint all the metallic details. Again, pretty simple stuff, but this isn't necessarily an in-depth, super deep tutorial for all of these. There's so many Marines, it's sort of chronicling my first time painting them, rather than being a tutorial to necessarily follow, though I think I outlined it quite well here. Here's a time-lapse of me doing everything. Mainly on the bolter. I'm just about out of these models, but luckily I got my batch earlier. I have been Spoons Rattling. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next episode, which is going to be Dark Angels.